first day of the World Cup tournament is officially in the books. And certainly it's been a very interesting first day. There's been definitely some headlines after the first day of the World Cup. We obviously have Russia with that emphatic 5-0 victory over Saudi Arabia. We had some controversy in the World Cup opening ceremony where the singer Robbie Williams decided to show some profanity in front of billions of people by putting his middle finger in the camera. And originally, from what I have heard from him, is that he originally wanted to make like a peace kind of sign. He kind of decided to put like that, but instead he just decided to put up his middle finger because he forgot what in the world does a peace sign looks like. I mean, that was a very bad moment, and he might get fined for that too, because I also heard that that kind of show of profanity is actually illegal in Russia. And then we also had Vladimir Putin and the Prince of Saudi Arabia decided to have a kind of political meeting at a football match. I don't know why, but they decided to have a political meeting there, and yeah, I bet they were probably just having a meeting rather than just watch the football match. Even though technically when you saw what happened when Russia scored that first goal, they basically just kind of like shake hands to each other. I'm guessing maybe it's just like no hard feelings done or something like that. But either way, let's actually now talk about day 2, and let's talk about the 3 games that's going to happen in day 2, and from now on, except the last day of the World Cup group stage and also tomorrow, there's going to be 3 games every single day. And we're going to start off with the early game, and the game that most likely I'm not going to be able to watch, but I'll watch it in the DVR version. It's Egypt versus Uruguay, and obviously the big storyline in this game is this. Will Salah actually start in this game? There's been report that he potentially could be starting in this game, although they said that he is definitely not 100% healthy. And there's also some report that he might be on the bench. So if Salah is not starting in this game and he have to come off as a substitute, how will this actually affect Egypt? And you know, this is a match that certainly after what happened today, and I kind of said it in the review show when I reviewed the Russia versus Saudi Arabia match, where I talk about how the pressure is really on Egypt now, because after what they saw, Russia put a 5 spot against Saudi Arabia, and now they have to make up 5 goals in terms of the goal differential. You know, they definitely, you know, this is a game that they don't need to win, but in the next game, when they do face against Russia, that will be very, very interesting. Although, one thing that I also said in that review is that if Egypt somehow pull a surprise against Uruguay, then that just completely shift the pressure back to Russia pretty much, because, you know, Uruguay are probably the best team in that group, and they're probably going to finish top. And, you know, from also what I heard, Suarez, Cavani, and Godin, the 3 players that you pretty much would recognize from this Uruguay national team, are going to be starting tomorrow. So, yeah, if Egypt can maybe pull off a surprise, then, yeah, the pressure is back on Russia again. Although, without Salah in there, that is going to be a huge blow if he, of course, won't be in that game. And again, we don't know if he's going to be starting in this game or come off the bench or even start in this game, because he is not 100% yet. He's still trying to heal from that shoulder injury that he suffered in the Champions League final. But yeah, moving on to the next match, Morocco versus Iran. This is probably one match that when you look on paper is not very interesting. I'm pretty sure a lot of people won't watch this. But what's interesting about this game is that I really think the winner of this one, they might have a legitimately chance of maybe kind of pull off a little bit of surprise and knock down one of those 2 European teams that is in their group. I'm talking about Portugal and Spain, which I will get to that in a moment. But I really think the loser of this, they might as well just kiss the World Cup goodbye, because, If you lose this, if one of these teams lose this, they still have to face Portugal and Spain, and that is a death sentence. And that is just goodbye to the World Cup. So something tells me that this is going to be a very even game. And remember, both of these teams does not have a lot of good goals scored. So something tells me that it is going to be very conservative in terms of how this match goes, and how I really think this could be a 0-0 kind of draw, or even a 1-1 kind of draw. Although, to be fair, after what happened in the first game of the World Cup, where we thought it was going to be like 1-0 or 2-0 in favor of Russia, Russia basically decided to drop the 5 spot. So maybe in this game it might be like a shootout and just completely surprise everybody that Morocco versus Iran is actually a very interesting match. But in many ways, I really think this is going to be a very, very tight match. There's not going to be a lot of good chances. It's going to be one of those games that is going to be really boring to watch if you're a neutral, but it is the way it is because both of these teams do not want to lose in this match. If they lose, they pretty much are out of this World Cup because they got Portugal and Spain next. And speaking of which, let's talk about this game. And there was some big news that come out of Spain, and this is literally a couple of days ago. This was actually breaking news, and that is Spain have actually sacked their manager. Spain has sacked Julian Lopetegui. I think that's how you pronounce it, or I think it's Lopetegui. But basically, they sacked their manager, and that he actually is going to be taking over Real Madrid in the upcoming season. And what Spain saw that is that they think that that was a complete betrayal from him to the Spanish national team, and that they just thought that they have no choice to sack him. And I also have heard that the Spain have also said that their former manager Julian Lopetegui, who they just sacked, was actually also behaving very badly to the Spanish Federation, and that he was kind of like acting. There was kind of a little bit of a fallout between the Spanish Federation and Lopetegui, and you know, this was kind of like the final nail in the coffin where they have to sack them. And now the fact that they're going to bring in a new manager, and you wonder now, how will that actually affect this Spanish national team? Now, I know that a lot of people, and I have heard a lot of journalists talked about how this won't really affect Spain very much because they have a lot of good players on their team that has dealt with managerial changes, and you know, they still have a lot of world-class players like Iniesta, Busquets, Diego Costa, Sergio Ramos, and all those guys. But you also got to think the fact that you are literally going to be heading into the World Cup, and you're going to be trusting your manager that literally just took over like 3 days ago. He had no time to prepare for this. This was just an immediately call, and you don't know you don't have any chemistry whatsoever between the manager that is now coaching this team to the former manager. You betcha that has definitely have some effect, and I just hope that it won't be a negative effect on this. It won't have too much of a negative effect, and I don't know if this is still going to be strong enough for Spain to going to be doing like what they did last World Cup, which was completely flop in the last World Cup and completely getting knocked out of the group stage after just 2 matches. But you kind of think that their chances of finishing top could be in question after this move. And you know, I always talked about how throughout these whole kind of prediction video that I done, and how I talk about manager getting sacked a couple of months before the World Cup, and I thought that was going to really disrupt the team rhythm. Well, Spain just basically did one even better. They decided to sack their manager just 3 days before the World Cup. And they're bringing a new manager that literally had no time to set up. Like, it's just basically just a makeshift kind of tactics, and there you go. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to affect Spain. But this obviously is probably the match that a lot of people will watch, and this will be probably the match that I've going to watch out of the other two that is not live. And you know, for me, I think Portugal, because of this manager situation with Spain, I think Portugal now has a little bit on the upper hand. But at the end of the day, I really think this might potentially be a match where it kind of decide who finished top, because I'm gonna pretty much assume that when they face Morocco and Iran, and I know I said before that they might spring a surprise, but let's say if they don't, and it's gonna be very convincing that both of these teams is gonna beat these other two teams in their group, I really think this might be just a match where it can determine who's going to finish first and second. And I'm pretty sure Portugal want to finish first as much as Spain does. But either way, guys, that is pretty much it for the preview of this day 2 of the World Cup. I'll be doing the review tomorrow, and then I'll do the same thing like I did today, which is do the preview of day 3, and that's going to be a little bit longer video because I have 4 games to preview. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all these games? Leave your prediction below in the comments. And yeah, I will see you guys next time.